guys, welcome to a gear review of the Bassbreaker 1830 by Fender. Now, I did a review where I did the 7-watt head and 112 cabinet. And so there was a lot of questions about doing the rest of them, and I've noticed that the reviews are coming a little slow onto the internet. Well, what happened was I was waiting to try a couple of these amps, and I finally got the 45-watt and the 1830. So I have both of those now. Okay, so let's go over the 1830. First thing I want to show you is I'm using today a decibel meter app on my iPad. If you can see it, if you can't, I wanted you to see that right now I am speaking at about 70 to 80 decibels with a peak of about 90 decibels. When I was playing the amp a second ago, let's go ahead and hit it. It hits 110. So you can see that the max was 110. This amp is loud. So let's go through the features and then we'll get back to the way it sounds. Okay, so like the other amps, the features are pretty straightforward. You have an input jack, a volume, bass, middle, treble, and then that is for channel 1. When you activate channel 2 by foot switch or by button, this will light up in a bright white light and you will get a volume and tone. Now, this channel is 30 watts. The clean channel stays at 30 watts. It is not variable to anything else. It's just 30 watts of clean power. When you switch to channel 2, it is 18 watts. Again, these are not variable. You cannot mix and match or you lower or raise them. They're just set. 30 watts to the clean, 18 to the dirty, and again, on the dirty, you'll get a tone and a volume. Standby and power, and of course, the white lens, which is, I believe, yes, is not, you can't change it. It doesn't let you turn it. It's the new Chinese kind, not the older ones that let you turn them. And then, like kind of a lot of the amps, it's venting the transformer right on the top, so you can see the top. Cool feature is it's got a leather handle. Now, just because I want you to see this, I'm sitting it on top of my Fender Bassman 59. That is a 410 Bassman 59. So if you're familiar with the Fender 212 DeVille combo or the Blues DeVille combo 212 or 410, and again, this is the Bassman 59, you'll see how much bigger this amp is. It is a large amp. It is a large platform. Weight-wise, though, not much heavier than the Bassman. I would say they're almost comparable. If you could probably look on the actual specifications online, but feel-wise, when you lift them, they were about comparable. I would say this is a little heavier, but wouldn't be enough to where I've noticed. Okay, so let's look at the back. Okay, so here's the back of the amp. You'll notice you get a foot switch that is included in it, and so is a cover. It's included a nice cover. Something cool, kind of like the back of the Bassman, they use a cloth grill to fill in the holes. Up here they're using a metal grill, probably to protect these tubes so you don't have to put them in a cage. You can see through the grill the complement of preamp tubes and of course the complement of power tubes. There are 4 EL34 power tubes. You have a, let's not cover that up, I'm sorry. You have a 4, 8, or 16 ohm switch. Interesting, kind of nice little feature on the amp. If you switch it anything other than the 4 ohms, the amp will not work. It turned itself off. That was a cool safety feature. You have an extension cable speaker and a main speaker. In other words, you can bypass the internal speakers, run this to another cabinet, and then, like I said, not use these. Use it just like a head, or run this cabinet and have an extension speaker cabinet, which is nice. There's also a post-power amp line out. In other words, a preamp out. So if you want to run into a PA or a mixing console or something like that, you have that ability as well. That's the end pretty much of the feature sets in the back, other than the complement of the 212s in the back, which are just labeled Celestians with giant Bs. Again, look online for specifications. I'm just giving you my first impressions of the amp. Okay, so let's look at basically what this amp is. It is a very loud 30-watt amplifier, an extremely loud 18-watt amplifier. That's why I'm using the multimeter, or sorry, the decibel meter. I don't know if you can even see it from this far, but I wanted to be able to show you something. It does have that feature where, let's go ahead and move this off to the side, shall we? Move it over here. We'll put it right here. Okay, ready? I'm going to switch it over to the drive side, and I have the amp off, or not off, I have the volume on 0, okay? Let's go ahead. Sorry about that. Okay, so here is the amp at volume 0. Let's go ahead and turn it. You can see where it just jumps in, right? So I'm going to go ahead and try to turn it to 1. 108 decibels. Volume 2. Now let's go ahead and volume 4. This is volume 4 or 5. Okay, so that's what it is. I'd rather really talk about some other stuff instead of just showing you audio demos. Let me talk about a couple things. Basically, they say in their literature, or they say in the rhetoric that I've heard that, you know, it's the clean section of a Bassman and it's the drive section of another amp. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to give you my impressions. This is like an AC30 to me. Ironically, it is 30 watts, although the power section is 15 watts, more like an AC15. But realistically, when I'm playing this amp, it doesn't vibe very Fender to me. I think that's what they're going after, right? They got British tubes in it. This is definitely an AC30. Now, I am not a huge AC30 or 15 amp user, although I do love them. I don't play them myself. But I do notice how they take pedals, and this takes pedals the same way. Kind of bright and brash. But then when you get a little push, like a treble boost, okay, so I could be wrong. Beat me up all day. I don't care. Here's what I'm telling you, I think. If you're in the market for an AC15 or AC30, you should be looking at this amp as a competitor. It is basically made in Fender's facility in Mexico. It is priced under the AC30 and over the AC15. But when I say over the AC15, by a few dollars, but considerably a couple $100 less than the AC30. It doesn't have reverb, which is kind of a downfall, and it doesn't have an effects loop, which is another downfall. It's an interesting thing. I think they were going for the whole, hey, what if Marshall or Vox and Fender came together and co-opt an amp? And that's what it definitely vibes like. The missed opportunity here is, if you're going to do that, you know, if that happened, like I said, Vox and Marshall and Fender came together, you would think they would take the best from everybody's stuff and put like the really lush reverb tank from Fender in here, you know, right, and just load it up. But that's not what they did. The look is definitely cool. I like the look, although, you know, I have a Tweed amp obviously below it, the 59. I would have preferred regular Fender Tweed, but the gray Tweed obviously signifies this is something new. They want you to identify it when it's on a stage. Like I said, the 45 watt, which I'll do next, is not anything like this, just like the 7 watt is nothing like this, and they're not like each other. They're all different, but reading the Fender information kind of insinuates that they're different but same, and so far it's like you could have handed me 3 totally different amps. You did actually, but I mean I don't connect anything about my experience owning hundreds of amps to these amps being together. They are definitely each one named the same, Bassbreaker, but considerably different. Again, this is definitely a British rock with a great clean sound. It's a cool amp. However, if you want to own it to play small gigs or practice at home or in the studio, you'll probably be spending most of the time with a pedal. Now, I think the main reason it has a line out, not a line out for the mixer, but the speaker out, I think it's so you can attenuate it. And that's a cool feature. I think what their plan was is to bypass these speakers, run it into some kind of attenuation and run it into another cabinet and get some kind of great, amazing, lower wattage kind of tone out of it. This is definitely, I would consider this a pro level amp. You know, in other words, this is for someone who's gigging out, playing venues or clubs. This is definitely not for the home body person like me, which is why I'm probably missing it. So take that for what it's worth. If you guys are out there and you're legit players out there playing, and I sound like an idiot, that's because I'm basically compared to my needs. So my needs would be to run pedals in front of it at home. It's pretty dang loud. Again, that's one thing I just want to keep repeating, is how loud it is. Now, if you've been looking for a good combo that would definitely shut your drummer and bass player up for once, this would probably be the one to get. It obviously sounds pretty good. It takes pedals well, like I said. Right? And to get that pedal going. like I said, so I love it. It's got a cool tone. This is in my categories of the, skip it, not for me kind of thing, or let's say not for me, try it or buy it. I would say this is definitely a try it amp. It's unfortunately not for me because it's kind of a large amp and it's out of what I need, but definitely a try it amp for sure. Like I said, but I want you to understand, because I know sometimes it's hard to get out there and try something and you're just watching a video. Just like I said, think more Vox and less Fender, and I think you'll be pleasantly you'll be pleasantly surprised. Like I said, I actually like it a little bit more. What I really would like to see out there is somebody do an actual AB against the Vox AC30. I was thinking about doing that because I have a Vox AC30, but for now, I'm just going to do the review of this. So, again, that's my first impression of the Bassbreaker 1830, an amazing quality amp, definitely for the gigging musician and someone who's looking for an amp to get over a drum set finally. All right, guys, as always, thank you for your time and know your gear.